All right. I'm coming to some realizations lately that women aren't the same as they were, or they're not what we think they ever were. The female nature is a very interesting thing to think about. It's a very interesting thing to study. I think men, in a sense, some of us sort of have to study it. And a lot of it, unfortunately, is through empirical evidence. And when I say unfortunately, because we go through bad experiences. And oftentimes that's how we learn the best in life, is by going through bad experiences. So there's no manual out there that says this is how women are, etc. But one thing that I'm learning as I'm getting older and going through bad experiences, going through bad relationships, going through bad women, you learn a lot. You learn how women operate. You learn how dating and relationship plays out. And the crazy thing about it is it evolves. It's evolved and it's transmorphed into something that it used to not be. But there are similarities that were always there. Women are always going to chase men with money. Women are always going to be more attracted to successful men. Attraction for women is based on certain things that is not the same as attraction for men. Men are not attracted to women with success. Some men are, but it's very rare. Most men don't really care, unfortunately, and we should actually. I think we should. I think men should care more if she's successful or not. Most men don't really care that much if she's a clerk at a supermarket as opposed to being somebody who's, successful in a certain field or whatever. We don't really care that much. In fact, I think a lot of men would actually prefer her to be a, low-level worker at a supermarket, because that would mean she has more time. She wouldn't be as challenging. If she was more high-brained and intelligent, so to speak. Not to say that somebody who works at a supermarket isn't intelligent. But insofar as the field of their career is concerned, they haven't applied any greater intelligence. They haven't, advanced very far if they're stocking bananas at a supermarket, right? So we do live in a different era, obviously, where women can become more professional and women can sort of express their intelligence, and women can express themselves in a successful way. And yet also we have the same biology as we did 100, 200 years ago when women didn't have that access. Okay, and there can be all kinds of arguments for that as well. Why did women not have access to those type of jobs? Well, it could be because men were busy building civilization and they didn't want any setbacks. They didn't want to, have to make allowances for mistakes if women, and that might be considered a sexist statement in and of itself. It's just the way it happened. Okay, you could make a bunch of educated guesses on why. That's just the way it happened. Feminists just will come out and say that men were sexist, that men were misogynist, etc. At any rate, civilization got built. 300, 400 years ago, the world was not nearly as developed as it is. We didn't have planes, trains, and automobiles. We didn't have computers. We didn't have the super international trade that we have now. We didn't have the super free market of not only ideas but goods that we have now. Men did that. Men built that. Women maybe assisted in some indirect ways, etc. And women have come up with their own inventions, and women have done a lot of wonderful, great things. Women are humans. They're not subhumans like feminists have this negative viewpoint and think that everybody thinks that everybody's just hating on women, and everybody thinks that women are just subhuman and blah, 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 blah. This negative narrative that they have, which is not true. But in the grand scheme of things, again, historically, men have built civilization. Men have conquered, men have created, etc., etc., and women have, to a lesser degree, done some invented some things and been helpful, etc., right? After that civilization was built into the 21st century, that we live in now, we live in a world that has been subdued. We live in a world that is post-Renaissance, post-industrial revolution, post-civil rights movement, to a good extent post-war, at least insofar as the major players in the world government and economy are concerned. Okay, all the major countries in the world really aren't at war anymore. World War II has been over for over 80 years, 80, 90 years. So there's a lot of world peace comparatively to the fact that there ever was in history. Yes, humans are killing each other. Yes, there's laws being broken. Yes, war is still on the face of the earth. We still have the corrupted human nature, etc. Okay, what do I mean by saying all this? I'm trying to paint a picture that we live in a different time than we ever have before. And the fact that women can do and evolve and become whatever they want to be in this society that allows them to be. Because who was it? It was men who gave them their rights. It was men who gave them their freedom. It was not women. It was not the voice of women and the overpowering influence that women had on society. Men said, yeah, you know what? You're right. That's shitty. You should vote. You should be able to choose who you want to be with. You should be able to be free in society, etc. Not to say that there's not atrocities against women internationally, universally. Not to say that there is not still oppression somewhere in some corner and crevice of the country or the world, etc. There is. It's never going to be a time when women are not going to be victims in some way or another. But guess what? There's never going to be a time when men are not going to be victims in some way or the other. Okay? If we look at male statistics, it's the same kind of thing. Male statistics are blowing female statistics out of the water in rape, murder, deaths from hard jobs, suicide. If you look at the statistics, they are not even. Women live longer, and yet so much is expected of men and so little is expected of women. But that's not what I want to talk about. I want to talk about how women have evolved. How do women view relationships? How do women view men? Okay? And what I think is that it's coming from a very self-serving place. I think that women are arguably more selfish than men. Men, in a sense, have to sacrifice. We're expected to sacrifice. We sacrifice a third of our day to work. We sacrifice generally a lot of our money to raise children because, again, it's expected of us to be the breadwinners. That's part of our definition as a man to be a breadwinner. That's part of our identity as a masculine male being is to be a provider financially. Okay? I believe it's etched in the female DNA to seek after a man who has more money than other men, or to seek after a man who at least can take care of his own. It's even defined as such. What is a man? A man is somebody who takes care of himself. A man is somebody who takes care of his own family. That is in the definition of what a man is. And it just depends on how you look at it, man. It depends on how you look at your worth. Many men rest on that. Many men rest on those laurels. I'm the provider. I pay the rent. Therefore, I'm the leader. Therefore, this is my role as the quote-unquote alpha of the household, etc. Right? I think men have more worth than that. I think men have more intrinsic value than just being a provider, just being a utility, a means to an end, just being the benefactor that makes the wheels go, the wheels of a family go. That's what I think. That's how I've evolved, as opposed to going back to this 1950s sort of traditional, which women aren't even really into that anyways. Okay. Women are today, what I think, going from bad relationship, being in bad dating scenarios, being with bad women, what I've learned is they're self-serving. And that may be expressed in several different ways. That may be expressed in them simply wanting a boyfriend, but yet they want the boyfriend in a selfish way. I want this type of guy as opposed to any other type of guy. So I'm going to go after this type of guy. And then they try that type of guy for a little while. They get bored. Then they go after this type of guy. Oh, I want this type of guy as opposed to any other type of guy. And then they're with that guy for a little while, and then they get bored. And then they jump. This is hypergamy. This is spinning plates. This is just the expression of a female using men for her own selfish purposes. That's what I see the most in lower level women. What I see the most in higher level women that I mentioned before who might have good careers, might have successful, have been to college, they're successful financially, they're quote unquote your independent woman, not the independent type of, hooker type of woman that, some women say I'm an independent woman and they're really hookers, but the real type of independent woman, the woman who's actually made it in this world and in this economic system, what I see in that is I see more of I want a kind of mutuality type of thing, right? I want shared experiences, which is not bad. That's not terrible. That's not the worst thing on the planet. Mutuality, shared experiences, fun times, that can be okay. But again, it's for selfish purposes. It's not for the man. It's not coming from a place of love and shared mutuality, shared experiences in the love sense. It's I want to share an experience for myself.